Hey there, freaking nerds. So if you're like me and your GPU does not support DLSS, that might honestly be one of the main things that makes you want to upgrade GPUs, like it is for me on my GTX card, because not every game supports XeSS or even implements FSR well. And on my card, most games don't even let you enable frame gen. Even in some games that support FSR 3 frame gen, they still don't always let you enable it on the GTX 10 series. But anyway, that hasn't been a problem for me in the last year because I discovered this program called Optiscaler, because it lets you enable the DLSS in-game on literally like any GPU. So any game that supports DLSS, you can enable it in-game, even if it's an AMD GPU or if it's an older GPU. And not only does it let you enable upscaling, it also lets you enable frame generation, even in games that don't support frame gen by default. And this is not at all like lossless scaling, which is a post process where it's running on top of the game. Optiscaler is directly injecting itself into the game to allow you to enable DLSS in the menus of the game. And it achieves that by injecting the most recent versions of XeSS and FSR 3 into the games. If you haven't heard of it before, I know it really kind of sounds too good to be true, but this was actually one of the initial selling points for DLSS 2 when it came out, was in video marketing, that it was super easy to swap out with other solutions. I'm going to show you how to install it in Star Wars Jedi Survivor and in Flight Sim 2024. Ever since September 12th, 2024, I guess, Denuvo was removed, which is cool, but they replaced it with Easy Anti-Cheat. And the way Easy Anti-Cheat worked seemed to block how Optiscaler was injected before. And this is a good time to mention real quick that Optiscaler should not be used in multiplayer games, and hopefully cannot be used in multiplayer games, because anti-cheat will almost certainly detect it as a mod to the game files, and it'll hopefully stop it from launching, but otherwise you might get detected by the anti-cheat in the game and banned or something like that. So only use it in single-player games. So I think Jedi Survivor should be safe, even though it's using Easy Anti-Cheat. But anyway, enough rambling. So installing Optiscaler in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. First, you should go to the Optiscaler GitHub, which I will leave a link to in the description. And if you've never used GitHub before, it might look a little bit intimidating, but it's really easy. All you have to do is go down to the releases section down here on the right and click on the most recent release. This one that says latest right here. Right now it's version 0.7.7, and from here you just have to scroll down to where it says assets and click on this file called Optiscaler, this .7z file, which is just a zip file. So you download that, not the source code, and then we'll just open that file. I'm using 7-zip, but you can use any program. And okay, so these are the files we're going to need here. Now I need to go to where Jedi Survivor is installed. So I'm just going to find the game's directory, go to install location, and then here's the base directory for the game. But we need to go deeper. We need to install it next to the game's executable file. So we're going to go into swgame, binaries, Win64, and here's Jedi Survivor's exe file. And then we need to take the contents of that zip file we downloaded before and extract it into the game's directory in the folder that has the game's executable. So not always the base directory of the game. So I'm going to take all the files and extract them into the game's directory next to Jedi Survivor.exe. And then from here, we're almost done. We want to go back to the game's base directory because we need to take a file from a different folder and move it into the folder we just moved all the other files into. We need to find the file nvngx_dlss.dll, and we need to copy that file to the folder with the game's executable and rename it to just nvngx.dll. And so for Jedi Survivor, we go to Engine, Plugins, Runtime, NVIDIA, DLSS, binaries, third party, Win64, boom. So we take that file and copy it, don't move it, but copy it, and paste it in the folder that we moved all the other files into with the executable. And then you have to rename it. Just take the DLSS and the underscore off so that it is nvn.gx.dll. And the last thing you need to do is rename Optiscaler.dll to d3d12.dll. And then that's it. It's installed. You can open the game and see if it worked. And moment of truth, the hotkey for Optiscaler is insert on the keyboard, so I'll press insert, and there it is. This is the menu for Optiscaler. Up in the top left here is where it shows you what upscaler you're using and what version you're using. And you can switch between XeSS and FSR2 or FSR3 on the fly. So it's really cool. And a newer feature, which is the frame generation, that you can enable now on any GPU. But yeah, it might not be enabled by default. So go to the game's options, and you'll see that NVIDIA DLSS is now available to you. Okay, so performance is pretty bad right now, even though XeSS is working, and I'm upscaling from the balanced preset, just since I'm recording with OBS on the CPU at the same time, and this game is really CPU heavy. So that's why the performance is bad right now. Besides that, the image quality is pretty good. It looks a little bit better than the in-game FSR2 implementation, I think. So here's that. Here's the in-game FSR2 at balanced. It's not terrible. There's a little bit more ghosting. Do I have motion blur turned on? Yeah, turn that off. There's a little bit more pixelization, a little ghosting, but it's not bad, honestly. But I prefer using XeSS. And when you have Optiscaler installed, without DLSS enabled in the menus, it'll just say this when you open the Optiscaler menu with the insert key until you select DLSS as the upscaler in the game's options. So I enabled DLSS now, and sometimes you have to pause the game to be able to control the menu. But let's just try FSR3. So this looks a little worse than XeSS, I think, but there's a lot less ghosting than the in-game FSR2, actually. There's maybe... oh, there's still some ghosting, actually. And a little bit of pixelization. But it's not, you know, it's a little better. And if you don't like the way 3.1 looks, you can switch to the latest version of FSR2, which is 2.3.2. I think there's actually 2.3.4 now or something. And it gives slightly different image quality characteristics. It's a little bit more ghosty, usually. Maybe not in this game, but it's usually a little bit sharper, I find. Kind of depends on the game, what looks better. But it's just cool to be able to switch between them on the fly. Same with older versions of FSR2. To be able to compare them. And you can install any DLL you want in the game's files to be able to use it, or to be able to update to newer versions of FSR or XeSS. Right now it's using XeSS 2.0.1. So there's a little bit of instability in his beard and his hair and stuff. But overall, I like the image quality. You can drop the preset with XeSS without it looking like shit. So it's a little blurry now, but it's usable, even at ultra performance. Which is coming from 480p up to 1440p. But now for frame generation. Even though it says in the menus frame generation is unsupported, in the Optiscaler menu, there's a new feature for frame generation, and you can use it in games that don't support frame generation even. There's a few different implementations. For now, I'm just going to click on OptiFG. And I think you might actually have to modify the DLL file and change the options for Optiscaler and restart the game to get it to work. Yeah, it's not enabled. So let's do that. So I'm going to go to Jedi Survivor's directory, and I'm going to find optiscaler.ini. Double click on that and scroll down to where it says frame gen. And I'm going to find the parameter that says FG type equals auto and change that to OptiFG, which it says up here. And then I'm also going to go down to the OptiFG options down here. And for this option that says enables FSR 3.1 frame generation, I'm going to change that from auto to true. And then I'm going to save this file. Now we can launch the game. And boom, back in game. Looks like we about doubled our FPS. It's looking a lot smoother. We're using XeSS 2.0 with FSR 3 frame generation, or FSR 3.1 I mean, at the same time. And it looks pretty good. It's really helping, especially because of how pinned my CPU is right now. So I'm able to get 85 FPS, even though my CPU cannot keep up with 85 FPS because I'm recording. But you might notice that the HUD down there is kind of glitching around, and you can fix that just by going into the Optiscaler settings and enabling FG HUD fix right here. And that should fix it. It has to like detect the UI and mask off part of the screen, so it's a little bit more choppy, but there's no more ghosting down there, so that's cool. My Riva Tuner overlay might be messing with it actually. So yeah, there it is without the Riva Tuner overlay. But yeah, there's lots of other options to change. You can select custom quality presets, so you can go even lower than ultra performance mode. Ultra performance is a 3 times upscale. You can go all the way down to 6 times, which is even blurrier. There's even some other settings for frame generation, but I don't totally know what's useful. Oh, display only generated frames. I really want to try that. Now I guess it's only displaying the fake frames, only the generated frames, based on this option. It's definitely more choppy, but I mean, it's not. You know, it looks mostly normal. That's interesting. So I guess this is all fake frames, technically? But anyway, let's install FrameGen and XeSS into Flight Sim. So for Flight Sim, I think it is slightly easier. We just need to go to Flight Sim's directory. I'm using the Game Pass version, so I'm just going to go to the games directory, Flight Sim 2024, content, and for Flight Sim 2024, the exe is in the content folder. And we're going to go back to the Optiscaler zip file we downloaded. And once again, we're going to extract the contents into the Flight Sim directory with the executable in it. And then from here, we need to make a copy of the nvngx_dlss file again. And we need to just rename it to get rid of the DLSS part. So I'm just going to rename it to be nvngx.dll. And last but not least, I'm going to find the optiscaler.dll. And I'm going to rename it, in this case, dxgi.dll, which is their recommendation on the Optiscaler GitHub. they say that it's recommended to try dxgi.dll for games, but it depends on the game which thing you should rename it to. So I think dxgi works for most games, but that was triggering anti-cheat problems with Jedi Survivor. So I had to try d3d12.dll. So that's why we renamed it to that for Jedi Survivor. But for Flight Sim, I think we can use dxgi. And now we should be good. So let's launch Flight Sim. And I forgot to mention, actually, hold on. This was something that I was stuck on for a long time. Flight Sim 2024 would not launch for me if I had Riva Tuner open. So I have to close Afterburner and I have to close Riva Tuner to get it to launch successfully without crashing when it's loading. So yeah, that was annoying. So make sure you're not running RTSS while you're trying to play Flight Sim 2024. You can re-enable it after the game is running, actually. It's just while it's launching, it can't be enabled. Otherwise, it'll crash to desktop, I found. Let's see, I'll press insert. Hey, it's working. Okay, let's go to the game's options and enable DLSS on my GTX 1080 Ti. That's crazy. I'll set it to balanced mode, I guess. And let's see, does it even let... So I guess Flight Simulator has FSR 3 frame gen built in by default. I didn't know that. But let's see, does it let me... Let's just use the in-game FSR 3 frame gen for now with quote-unquote DLSS enabled. And we'll use XeSS as the upscaler. So let's go test it out. Where should we fly to test it? Let's go to Texas. Dallas, Fort Worth? Sure. Okay, we're in game with XeSS running in balanced mode, I guess. I think I'm running at low settings. But let's open Riva Tuner again to look at my frame rate. Oh my god, what is my plane doing? No! No, get out of the parking lot! Oh, this game is buggy. That is not the right place to take off. It better not spawn me there. But anyway, is FrameGen working? Let's see, it's I think FrameGen is actually working, yeah. Even though it's still like in the 40s. Flight Sim is really heavy on the CPU. And I'm also recording right now on my CPU. And you can kind of see the UI lagging behind and like running at the base frame rate. Oh yeah, and it's controlling weird. But we're using the in-game FSR 3 with XeSS upscaling. So let's just try to take off. Oh boy. So yeah, you can definitely see some artifacts from the frame generation on the side of the screen and on the UI elements of like the plane, the HUD. It's kind of like running at the internal frame rate, the base frame rate. Oh boy. Alright, so it does not make it easier to take off. Oh, the frame times, they're really not great. Oh man, this guy's in my way. Move it or lose it, bud. I'm a fighter jet. Yep, that's what I thought would happen. Okay. So, it's not easy to fly with the keyboard, that's what I'm gonna say. And also the frame generation really feels kind of shitty. I think I'm gonna try with the Optiscaler frame generation instead. Yeah, it looks like we get 20 frames per second with no upscaling. So I'm gonna restart actually to change the ini file for frame generation. I'm gonna go to flight sim directory, go to optiscaler.ini, go to where it says frame gen, change FG type to OptiFG, and then enable 3.1 frame generation to true, and then save it. And I'm wondering if maybe Flight Sim was using like an older version of frame generation, like version 3.0, or maybe 3.1 works better, or maybe Optiscaler's implementation. I don't know. We're going to see. Oh shit, I got to close RivaTuner. Alright, I'm going to re-enable MSI Afterburner and RivaTuner. Looks like our frame times might be a little bit more stable, actually, yeah. But yes, okay, I'm going to enable the HUD fix. And here we go. It's okay, it's not perfect. There's some weirdness going on still. But it could just be because I'm recording, or maybe even RivaTuner is causing it. But we're getting around the mid-50s now, 40s. That's cool. I'm not sure if I can disable it and enable it on the fly. But let's see, let's just disable RivaTuner's overlay and see how it feels. Oh, so this is, yeah, no, RivaTuner probably does not help with the presentation. But this feels pretty good now. Using... Oh boy, nope, don't do that. So we still got weird artifacts going on, kind of. But this feels a lot smoother than the in-game implementation, actually. Well, it does not make me better at flying. Oh boy. I swear I can do this normally. But anyway, our frame times are not bad for using frame gen and on a Pascal GPU in Flight Simulator. Okay, never mind. But anyway, yeah, that's how you do it. I'm pretty sure you're able to install Optiscaler on Linux too when you're playing games with Proton. But yeah, I really love this program, and it is awesome to be able to enable DLSS on any GPU. Let me know what you think in the comments. Peace.